Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're at. Welcome back to another day of trading. Holy smoke, it was a busy day yesterday. We have had some very busy, very productive, I would say, Tuesday and Thursday bonus sessions. And yesterday was another one of these really busy days, but we got a lot of stuff going on here in our account. So let's go ahead and just let me move this out of the way. There we go. Yeah, a lot of stuff to talk about. So we've obviously got a 0 DTE already up and running. Russ, I think it was asked, my one contract trade, is that a reference to my conviction level of the trade? It absolutely is not. I love the trade. Just as we were able to knock it out of the park 5 times on Wednesday with our 0 DTEs, and a big chunk of those were obviously in the NDX. We kind of have the same premium scenario going on today. We might have different directional bias today. We'll see, obviously how the day goes. But premium is still there, and I would have loaded up to the hilt with that today, but because of yesterday's buying binge, I'm out of buying power. So we'll be freeing up some of that here today as we go. But yeah, it's been a busy couple of days, and I think that will continue today. Let's go through our disclosures real quickly. Remember that trading does involve risk, and so we should use risk capital. Can't give you investment advice. I can't tell you what to do. Always position size. My goodness, we've got, if today doesn't illustrate diversification, I don't know what does. We've got a million trades going on. Maybe not a million, but it feels like that, right? But one trade in and of itself, just one trade in and of itself, should never really make or break you. And then make sure that you understand your trades. We got a yen trade going on that might be a new experience for a lot of us, and so we'll get into that. We'll chat about that a little bit. We can't guarantee profits, give you any earnings claims. Make sure that you own your trades, right? Make sure that the buck stops with you, that you feel comfortable with what you're going to do with it before you ever put it on. Okay. Let's go ahead. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and jump into our trades. I want to start maybe, let's do this. Let's start over with my son's account first of all. Excuse me. Let me pull his over. There we go. And we'll start with his Russell trade. Okay, we got a RUT trade going on here that we put on a couple days ago, and it does expire today. 22.65 is the short put, and 23.35 is the short call. It looks really good right now. Again, that was just an awesome trade. Well, so far, right? We've still got obviously the rest of our trading day today to go, but it looks really good. $10,000 is approximately is what he put into the trade, brought in almost $900 of gross premium on the trade, up $600 on it right now with about $200 left to go. I was just looking, it's just been really insane. It's just been insane. If we go, I want to look at his results year to date. Year to date, if I can get that updated. There we go. Year to date, he's brought in about $4,000 on what was a starting balance of about $9,000, $8,000. Something like that, up 50% or so year to date. Pretty impressive. Although I have had a hand in that. So anyway, his Russell trade, the Russell trade looks pretty good right now. We'll continue to obviously monitor that today. It does still have $200 of extrinsic value left in it. I'm not ready or prepared yet to close that out. You guys know it could be a crazy day today. We're on options expiration day, and just with what the market has been doing, I think that we'll have some potential volatility today. So we'll monitor it closely. Just an FYI for you, we did put a little bit different version, the good old 6J, right? We're all familiar with trading the 6J. That's the yen. That's the Japanese yen. And he put a little bit different. We put a little bit different version of that trade in here for his account. I didn't share that with you guys as a group because we're already in a yen trade in the group, okay, and it was a little duplicative of what our efforts are already doing, but just so that you know, because obviously you'll be seeing that in there if, as we go forward here over the next couple of weeks, I continue to share trades that he's doing with you guys as well as a group. It's basically just a cash secured put trade is what it is. It's a contract, two contracts to get him in at the end at a lower price. So I'll just share that with you guys just real quickly, so you just kind of understand what it is, even though we're not in it as a group. Just cash secured puts. You sold two contracts down here. Each contract, each futures contract is about $2,000. So it's about a $4,000 commitment to the trade, and it would get him in down here at this lower price. So that's all it is a cash secured put trade. You could call it a wheel trade if you wanted to. It's essentially, that's what it is a wheel trade. Okay, so that's where we're at there. We're watching that Russell trade, as has been the case quite a bit lately. We've got some duplicative efforts going on with multiple trades going on simultaneously in the same underlying, and we've got that today with the Russell trade. So we try to keep it all straight, right? We've got the Russell trade going on inside my Sens account, and then we've got this Russell trade. We'll just kind of go from top to bottom here, no particular order. We've got the Russell trade in our main account that we trade in here, put up about $10,000 on that. That was, I think, back a few days ago as well that we put this on. Brought in about $1,100 of gross premium. We're more than halfway there on that trade. On this particular Russell trade, let me see if I can get it to, did I just freeze? I think there we go. 2270 is the short put, and 2315 is the short call. So right now it looks pretty good, up quite nicely on it right now. You know, that would be obviously about an implied 6% rate of return or so. But there's still about $400+ of extrinsic value sitting in there. So again, we'll watch that very closely here today. But so far so good, right? It's looking right where we want it to be. My E-mini trade, again, on my E-mini trade, I've got one short contract. I've got the call spread up above it. I've got the put spread down below it. Obviously, it would be beneficial for my E-mini position if the S&P would go down rather than up, right? But it is, so again, this number right here, I think we can all understand that that would be better if that number was green rather than red, right? But I had said earlier that, you know, I had two of the short contracts, a little bit over position size, but I had two of them. I was trying to bring in about $3,000 a week, brought that down to just one contract. That's a little bit better position sizing for me. And it obviously would try to be bringing in about $1,500 a week of income on that. And assuming, you know, big, very, very big, knock on wood, that this trade holds together for me today for the rest of the day. Excuse me. Once again, I forgot to bring my drink out with me, so I'll have to go grab that here after we get going, which is probably going to be 3 hours from now by the time we get through all these trades. But assuming that I get through this trade today and I can capture the rest of that extrinsic value, it will put me, I think somewhere around $2,200. I think I will, on this one ES contract, I will have brought in about $2,200 on the week. So again, this is a cash flow trade. And as you guys probably are aware, you probably know that yesterday we were back at all-time highs, right? We were back at all-time highs in the marketplace. And so I think that I was trying to remember last night, and I just didn't bother to look, but I believe that there's probably been almost a half a dozen occasions. I know at least 4 or 5, but I think it might be as many as a half a dozen occasions over this past year where when we hit all-time highs, I put on a short position and just have reiterated that thought process that anytime we are at an all-time high, I feel like it is not necessarily even a good trade, but just simply prudent. It's just prudent to have some form of insurance or hedge to the downside on that position, right? And every single time I've been right. Every single time that has happened, those trades have worked out quite nicely for us. So I actually feel even better now than I did last week about having this short ES position on. But it's probably ultimately at the end of the day, whenever this position does get unwound, the success or failure of it ultimately will probably rest on, again, how much cash flow I bring in on it versus, was I right? Was I short and the market crashed or not? So again, I'm pretty happy actually with my ES position because I obviously superseded by quite a bit. Again, knock on wood that I get all of the remainder of this extrinsic value paid to me today. But I think it would put me somewhere around $2,200 or so income for the week. And I was thinking that it was, potentially going to be a stretch to get $1,500. So that's awesome. And if I could get above $1,500 again next week, I would love that. That would be wonderful. We do have a SPY trade going on today. We did capture our profits. I got to mark that up on the board. I think that's now 39 wins and 4 losses or something like that. We did capture our profits yesterday on our Q trade. Not a ton of profits. The Q trade continues. It's interesting how well we have been able to do with the NDX this week, and how challenging the Qs have been. Obviously, the same underlying, but nevertheless, it has been a little bit of a challenge. But a win is a win, and we were able to capture a win on that once again for this week, and we will look to reload that again next week with some more 4DTEs. Our SPY trade is our 4DTE, obviously in the SPY, and as we're looking at that here today, 454. Yeah, 454 is where our short call leg is on that, and we're just down below that here. As you know, we have all day for this to develop, and if we need to roll it at this level right here, it's very rollable. It is very, very rollable. So we'll let the day continue to roll itself out here for, I mean, I don't know, right to the end of the close today, but we'll definitely give a few hours here to get the market's sort of directional bias set. And maybe we don't need to do anything with the SPY trade today. That might be nice if that would just fully expire in profits for us, but we'll see. And either way, I'm pretty comfortable with that. The ES trade, we talked about that, right? Talking about my ES trade. Coin. So I won't bother here to get into our history tab today and go through again all of our trades on coin, but because we've done it several times already. But you can see, I think as we have done that, how incredibly powerful setting this trade up as a dragonfly versus setting it up as a just normal iron condor. You see how powerful that really ended up being. It really, really help. It added probably our losses would have been maybe 1,200 or so more than what they were at one point. So almost 50-60% more downside in the trade. Had we just done a normal iron condor than what we did. And it also, of course, gives us a lot of flexibility in the trade. We had said this from the get-go, really, as coin was ramping up, that there's just this confluence of Bitcoin hitting all-time highs, BITO, the ETF coming out, and all of these things were just kind of pushing coin up. And every metric really that we looked at with coin sort of suggested to us that it was a little bit overextended to the upside. And so we're seeing that come back down now just a little bit here. We've got a whole bunch of stuff in here that is expiring today. And there's still a teeny bit, not too much, but there's still a teeny bit of extrinsic value sitting in those. And then we've got our position going out, still 2 weeks in this. We've still got 2 weeks to go in this trade. So we will hopefully just be able to let those positions expire today, the ones that are expiring today. We'll reset those for next week, and we'll have 2 more bites at the apple, if you will, on those positions. And then I think, we should be in a good position overall on our coin trade, but it's moving in the right direction. Our corn trade right here, we've got several trades that are expiring today, and corn is one of them. It looks okay right now. As you know, these commodities, they can be fairly active, and so some of these there's probably going to be some activity in here that I'm going to go through and start paring some of these down here prior to expiration here today. But that trade looks really, really nice. 7%, we're showing a 7% right now rate of return on that trade in just one day. So that one looks really good as well. Our BITO. So BITO, of course, is the futures-based ETF that trades Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, however you feel about it, whatever your personal feelings are on cryptocurrencies, it really was a potentially great trading vehicle, right? All we want, all we need, all we look for as traders is movement. And you certainly have that, obviously, with Bitcoin, right? But it really hasn't been that easy of an instrument to trade. For the longest time, the only thing that you really could do with Bitcoin was buy it, buy and hold. And then some platforms sprang up that you could, start trading it, but you couldn't short it, right? You couldn't short it at all. And then for the longest time, there were no option availability on that. And then it, started trading on exchanges. But it was still, for a lot of people, very difficult to be able to short Bitcoin, and the pricing and the amount of BP required and all that stuff. So with BITO, we finally have, I think, probably what I believe, still obviously early days here, but we finally have here what I believe is maybe going to be the preferred way to trade Bitcoin. And so I would not be surprised at all if BITO, remember that ticker symbol, ingrain that ticker symbol into your mind, because I would not be surprised at all if we were trading this became a mainstay of what we're trading. So anyway, we'll watch that, obviously, going forward here as well. We talked about, let's see, now I've got everything repositioned here. It's coming down from profit to loss, so it's always changing. We talked about the rest. We talked about the ES. Let's talk about 6J. So sort of an interesting trade. This may be something that you have not traded before or not familiar with. It is the Japanese yen, and this trade sort of intimated or came about because I had shown you guys a chart of the of a forex trade with the dollar yen pair, and how much I like that trade, and why I think it's such a good trade. But obviously, we're not trading forex in here. I think it was shoot, I can't remember. Someone in here showed this ticker symbol. And I thought, well, you know, this is probably going to be an easier way for you guys to put this trade together. Yeah, Rob, overnight requirements are the same. No, well, not the same. Is the same that it's $2,000. It's $2,000 per contract for the yen. $2,000 is the margin requirement for that. And I love it. I love the potential of it. I love the chart of it. I love everything about the yen has absolutely gotten smashed. And if that's something that you want to delve into, I won't take our time here today in Zoom, but I did put up a research report on the Discord yesterday. Go ahead, take your leisure and your time at that and read that. But it's I think it's one of the best setups going right now. I think it's one of the best trade setups going right now. And you can see the numbers on this. It shows about $2,200, right? It shows $2,200, but that of course does not count. That does not count the income from the trade. So it's really about $2,100 is my buying power effect on that, about $2,100. And I brought in $300 in income for a 2-week period of time on that. Plus it has some nice upside as well. You know, this again is a trading vehicle that has monthly expirations, but I wanted to just show you, you know, if we were able to get, even if we didn't get any follow through, right? Even if we didn't get any growth in the yen, which I think that we will, but even if we don't, just the income from it over 2 weeks would be an amazing ROI. But then you've got the next month's expiration that you could go out. And I just wanted to show you the numbers on that trade, about $1,000. This is at the money, right? This would be at the money, about, well, let's say $900, right? You would bring in $900. So you brought in $300 of income. You could bring in another $900 of potential income. You could bring in $1,200 of income over a month and a half on a $2,000 investment. So I love it. I love it. And if I can get to the point where I could actually free up some capital here, that's a position that I may be very, very interested in loading up even more. So we'll watch that. We'll monitor that. But I love that trade. That's probably I would say that my number one conviction trade of everything that we've got going in here right now. Just a lovely, lovely, lovely trade. We talked about coin. ZC, this is a corn, obviously expires today, looks pretty good right now, but I talked about how it maybe wanted to take some profits early on some of these. TDOC, Teledoc, we did some rolls, we did some adjusting on this, excuse me, and it looks pretty good right now. It's pretty well positioned, pretty well centered. Still a lot of extrinsic value in that, still a week to go, so we're okay on that. Oh, I did want to yeah, I got my closed tab open here. Our BX trade, so this was another, let me go to history, BX. This was another bracket order that we put together, and these are just lovely, lovely trades. We do a ton of these inside of our asymmetric trading system. And I just love them because there's no maintenance on them. And let's see, I got a couple questions coming in. Rob, I answered yours, $2,000 contract. John, looks like it's not too late. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think it's too late to get into that trade. Still 2 weeks to go in this expiration cycle, and you know, it's up. Obviously, we're up a little bit on it, but it hasn't moved too much. The BX trade, we were already out of that at a profit today. We already were automatically taken out at our profit target on that today. You can see the bracket orders that we put in there, where we bought it at a 131.66. Well, that was my number, 131.66, and it automatically sold it out at 135.65. We love those bracket orders. I'm going to remove the close tab here for a second. We love those bracket orders in the asymmetric trading systems. It's very easy, passive way to trade, and you don't really have to pay attention to them because you've got good solid stop losses in there, and the trades, they just kind of manage themselves. BABA is a trade that we have had a lot of success with. We've had a lot of good results with BABA over the last 3-4 weeks, and it is expiring today as well. Might be another trade that I hit to free up maybe some capital today. We'll see how that goes. BITO, this is a volatile one. This is, we've talked about it, but I think it's going to be a good trading vehicle for us going forward. ZS, this is our soybean trade. This is the one that expires today as well, and it looks to be fully profitable right now. That might be another one that I use to clear off some buying power for today for the rest of the day and book my profits on that. BTCM is a mining company, a Bitcoin mining company. This one is the one I was referring to. Fairly volatile. It does bounce around quite a bit. We've got 28 days to go on this, but it's got really good income potential on it. So we'll let that continue to work and just watch that, monitor that as the time goes by. We've got several wheel trades going on. We've got the Delta Airlines trade going on. Still 2 weeks to go in that, $37 a share. I would be interested in owning it down here for sure. Let's see, Karen, I see a question coming in. Do you stay with your limit price on the bracket orders or place at a market? So when, Karen, when you place a bracket order, it does do it at a limit. It does do it at a limit price. So sometimes you may have to redo it if it's not filling, because it does do it at a limit price. Okay. So our wheel trade on DAL looks good. I would be happy to own some of this at some point. At some point here, we will get an execution on one of these wheel trades, and we'll be able to hopefully carry it to fruition. So DAL, I'd be interested in owning it down here at 37, and that's what we're expressing here by selling one contract that we're willing to own 100 shares at $37 a share. Our oil trade is bouncing around a little bit. I was hoping that oil was going to be down just a little bit, just marginally today, because I think that the result would be the same. We still wouldn't be, obviously on our oil trade, we've got a little bit of a negative delta. The last couple of days, it has been down just marginally, and it hasn't helped our trade. And that's one of the things that we've talked a lot about with a lot of these commodities, nat gas being a good example of that, that IV increases even when the price is going up versus maybe the indexes where usually IV drops in those. So it hasn't helped us, but we've got a lot of time still to go in our CL trade. What is our time frame there? 25 days still to go there, and I think that our levels are really good. I think that our levels are really good on that. So we'll continue to work that. X is another trade. U.S. Steel is another trade that is kind of a mainstay of mine. It's something that I have enjoyed trading sort of repeatedly. And I think that that'll probably be something that stays in our mix a little bit here. That's expiring today. And we just need to keep an eye on that because it is close to the 23 strike price call. So we'll just watch that a little bit as the day goes by. Our Apple trade is plugging right along. We may be at the point here with our Apple trade where we can book profits. I think that we may be at that point where we can book profits on the Apple trade and call it good and walk away from it. It was a good trade. But I think we've maybe wrung as many profits that we can get out of it as we possibly could. We talked about our CL trade. BBBY trade. That again is a wheel trade, and we're committed to buying it at 15. It's obviously at 14 now, so I think that we will get triggered on that. We got a week to go still in it, but we'll see how that develops. Cat is another one that we've got going. Week to go in this. It's a full iron condor on here, and it looks really well centered right now. Nothing really that we need to do, focus on or adjust there. It looks really good. Our JMIA, our Jumia Technologies, is another wheel trade, and this is another one that I would really like to get exercised on. Own some of it, own 100 shares at 18, and see what we can do with it. So we'll work on that. Crocs was one of the many trades that we put on yesterday, and yeah, no offense. Is there a hot mic? Let me jump in here. Thank you for letting me know. No offense to anybody that wears Crocs, but I don't get it. I don't get it. And everybody that does wear them says, hey, you got to try them. They're wonderful. I don't get it, but boy, they have had knockout numbers, and they just reported earnings, and once again they had knockout numbers, and the chart is obviously very bullish here, but we do feel like it's a little bit overextended with technical analyses, and so that's kind of what we put together here, was a little bit of a bearish trade, and it's already off to the races. It's already moving into the green, so we've got a lot of time to let that thing work. And yeah, I no offense to anybody that wears Crocs, but everybody that wears them says, oh, you got to try them. They're amazing. You got to try them. I'm like, I don't think that those are even qualified as shoes. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Everybody that does wear them seems to love them. And obviously the sales numbers are good, right? Obviously the sales numbers are good. Hood is a trade that I'm going to probably be one of the first ones here to close out. Hood was a good trade that we put together. It was a butterfly, and it was a good trade because really, you see the orange line, and you see where we're at. This is, it didn't work, or it hasn't worked right now, right? And we're down $80, $90, and so we had $100 of income coming in. Anytime you can build a trade that has a better than 1-to-1 risk reward ratio, it's probably a trade that you want to look at. So we haven't done a lot of sort of buy and hold butterfly trades. This was one of them. Doesn't look like it's going to work, but it wasn't a lot of risk for a decent amount of reward. So I'll probably be closing that one out here this morning as well. I did put on a short bias position yesterday evening, I believe, in the NASDAQ with the futures position, because it was, after hours, and I still have that going on here. 15,434 is where we're at right now on the NASDAQ, and I have a short call leg at 15,490. So that trade hasn't quite broken into the profit zone yet, but I believe that it will do just fine today. So obviously that's another one that we want to keep an eye on as we're going forward here, but I think it will be fine. I think it will be good. Our Tesla trade, I am probably as proud of our Tesla positioning and our Tesla trading as really anything that we've done in the last several weeks. And it's a trade that hasn't worked yet, right? But I think that we started doing some trades on Tesla. Man, I don't even know, around the $810 range, somewhere in there, I think. And obviously we're, essentially 100 points higher than that right now, 13 more points higher today. But we've been able to sort of stay in front of this trade. And I wanted to talk about this concept just a little bit here this morning. I went to my son's dojo, his karate studio, last night, and I watched him do some workouts. And, you know, it's really not that much different than boxing. If you're familiar with boxing, they talk about being light on your feet and movement. And, you know, if you stay planted, if you keep your feet planted, you're no longer a moving target, and you're easier to hit, and you're easier to get knocked over, right? So you want to stay fluid, you want to stay moving around. There's certain trades where that's important. There's certain trades where they're not. You know, I think like with our SPY trade, for example, the SPY trade is generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, it's a fairly slow moving trade. And it's pretty straightforward in terms of how we can adjust them, right? Tesla, not the case. You have to be nimble. You have to be on your toes. You have to be moving around. You have to be ahead of the curve on Tesla. So we've done an amazing job of A, staying ahead of the curve with Tesla, and B, not making any money on it yet. But we're going to continue to work it. And I think that we will probably, even though we've still got a week to go in this iteration of our trade, probably look to roll that out today as well, out and up. And if we could do that at a credit without adding any buying price, that would be even better, right? That would be awesome. So we'll probably be working on that today as well. Our ZW trade, our wheat trade, that doesn't look like it's going to work. We're close right there. 755 and 758. 758 is the price right now. 755 is our short leg. There is still some extrinsic value in the trade. So I'm going to let it play out for a little bit more today, but that's one of the commodity trades that doesn't look like it's going to work. The other trade that is not working for us right now is GME. 175 is our short put leg, and we're at 170 right now. That's a trade that's rollable too, though. So we'll look to maybe adjust that more than anything else. And then last but not least, I will share with you guys my nat gas trade. So nat gas numbers out today, and you know, every single week it seems like we get the same numbers. You know, they're the same numbers. There's a huge supply constraint, and so I think it's been maybe 5 weeks in a row now where the supply numbers come out and nat gas pushes up on price, right? And that's what it does, because that's what the numbers would dictate. But what's appealing to me about it is that usually the next couple of days after that, it will pull back down. So, you know, one of the things that I wanted to mention on this with regards to this, you know, and one of the things, you know, I think that I will be fine on this trade. I think I've already brought in around $10,000 or $11,000 of income on the nat gas trade from the previous expiration cycle. I'm up about $5,000 now. I got another $10,000 that's coming in. The nat gas trade expires in 4 days. So I was talking to one of you yesterday. I was like, you know, we just kind of need to get through today, get a little bit of theta through the weekend. And I think Monday, the trade will look really, really good. But that being the case, I think there was a point, someone in here will probably know for sure, but I think there was a point in here during maybe this iteration or the previous cycle on the nat gas trade where I was down at one point like 35 grand, 40 grand, something like that. I can't even remember, but it was over 30 grand. I know that. And I just want to talk about that a little bit. I had a conversation with one of you yesterday, and it kind of reminded me of a conversation that I had with one of my first trading mentors way back in 2008. No, I can't remember. I can't remember when it was, but it was a while ago. But this is a trader that had about $400,000. So he already had you know, some decent capital to work with. He wasn't a pauper. He wasn't, you know, working with a couple $1,000. He already had 400 grand, but he was he had a pretty concentrated short position in the airline sector when 9/11 happened. And obviously that was pretty good for it was bad for us as a world and a country, but it was good for his portfolio. and it turned his 400 grand into about $5 million. And with $5 million is more than I have. And it's more than enough. You don't need $10 million. $5 million is more than enough to, if you understand how to trade, if you're a good trader, it's more than enough to set yourself for life, right? With a very, very nice, ridiculously high potential income every year. But he was like so many of us where, I don't want to say that we're paycheck to paycheck, but most of us, regardless of how much money we earn in our jobs or our careers or whatever, we're not flush, right? Like there's not just money falling out of the sofa cushions or whatever. And so we develop these emotions that are attached to money, and those really control a lot of how we trade. And one of the things that I remember him saying when he had, gone from 400,000 to $5 million, he's like, I really start viewing money very differently now. He says, I can put on a trade, the trade can go down by $10,000 and I don't even give it a second thought. Like, to me, it's just a rounding error, right? Like it's not even worth looking at, a $10,000 drop. It doesn't even mean anything to me anymore. And he talked about how much that helped his trading, because he was able to remove all of the emotional baggage that we have with money. Because, look, money's obviously important, right? But I've always remembered that conversation that he had. And that's obviously easier said than done. It is easier, I believe. I don't know, because I don't have $5 million, but I would believe that it is easier if you have $5 million than if you have $5,000 to emotionally detach yourself from the ups and downs of your trading account, right? But I had this conversation with my son yesterday. We were talking about, and again, we're really diverging from where we were going with this. But we watched Dave Chappelle's comedy routine on Netflix last night, and I didn't think that he said anything offensive, but there's a lot of people in certain segments of the population that are very offended by him. And I had a good conversation with my son last night. The famous quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, that no one can make you feel anything. No one can make you feel inferior. No one can make you angry. No one can make you have any emotion. We are the one. People can do things to you that affect your emotions, but we are the ones that are in charge of those emotions, right? So anyway, that was look, they call the nat gas trade the Widowmaker for a reason, right? They call it the Widowmaker for a reason. And the fact that I could put $50,000 in that trade and watch it go upside down by 30 grand, that's a good example of why they call it the Widowmaker, right? But you have to believe in your premise. And so again, I kind of come back to the conversation of my E-mini position. Now, again, I've brought in a couple grand off of that. So really my number, I'm down like 5 grand on that, right? But 5 grand isn't chump change, like I don't want to lose 5 grand. I don't have a care in the worry. I care in the world. I don't have a worry in the world on that E-mini position, because I believe strongly that I can bring in $1,500 a week in income off of that thing. And if I can bring in 6 grand a month, 70 grand a year of income off of a $17,000 investment, it's going to do whatever it's going to do capital gains wise, but I think I'll be okay, right? So you do have to sort of have a premise. You have to have an idea of where you're going with this and what you want to do. I watched the movie The Big Short about Michael Burry once again. And if you've not watched that movie, watch it, because he's the guy obviously that rose to fame. His claim to fame is he called the mortgage debacle, right? And he became a billionaire off of that movie. He was wealthy obviously before, but he became a billionaire off of that movie. And the interesting thing about that is that he was wrong in that trade a lot longer than he was right. Like he put all of his, and it wasn't just his money, right? It was clients' money that he put into shorting the mortgage market. And he was losing money every single day. Every day he was losing money. And the clients were clamoring. And he's like, look, here's the premise. And they're like, we don't care about the premise. We don't care about your philosophy on the trade. We're losing money. He's like, yeah, but the premise is still right. And they're like, you're not listening. We're losing money. And he's like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The premise will bear fruit. It's just not doing it right now, right? So you have to have those belief systems. I have that belief system in the yen trade. I have that belief system in my short e-mini trade. So and I had that belief system in nat gas as well. But anyway, just some things to talk about. Okay, so I'm going to get to work here. We've got a lot of stuff to work through, and so I'm going to get to work here on that. I do think that I'm going to start with the hood trade. I'm going to close out the hood trade. And I'll work on a couple other ones here as well. So I'm going to get a couple orders started here, and then we'll be back in just a little bit. Just a quick check-in, guys. I've got some people here working on the house, so I'm going to be in and out a little bit today. So sorry if I don't quite hit the top of the hour and the bottom of the hour updates. But anyway, going to continue to let the market work here a little bit. I do think if you saw, well, let me just pull my son's account over here. That's just as easy as anything to kind of show you that. Whoops. Well, I thought it was going to be easy. You know, the big dump that we've taken in the futures markets, you saw that right there. You see it right there. We had a snap was sort of the catalyst, and we've talked about this before as well. You know, looking for canaries in the coal mine or tails in the marketplace, and I forget which company it was that we were, I think, trading or watching, and it had reported better than expected earnings, and then it fell, right? And it was because, yeah, it had great numbers, but the market had even bigger expectations of what those numbers were. And that happens when we get, you know, euphoria in the marketplace, and we get euphoria. And I think it was Netflix. And we get new euphoria in the marketplace when we are at all-time highs. That's when the froth in the marketplace starts to happen. And you're starting to see this now, I think, with the asymmetric effects of earnings, where when the earnings are amazing or great or way better than expected, the stock doesn't quite bump or go up as much as it usually would, or as we would think it would. And then when the earnings are, you know, okay, you know, they don't even need to be horrible, right? But when they're just okay and they're not amazing, the stock just gets taken to the woodshed. And that tends to happen when we get closer to the all-time highs in the marketplace. And that's, I think, where we're kind of at right now. Again, it's sort of why I just feel like, again, I don't even say it's a good trade. I just say it's prudent. It's just the right thing to do, to have some type of a hedge, some type of insurance, some type of downside bias in your portfolio anytime we are at an all-time high in the marketplace, right? Which is obviously where we're at right now. So, okay, I'm going to be working on a couple more trades here. And then I'll be back in just a moment. So you may see a couple trades come through here. I will jump back into Zoom if I can get those filled. Okay, working on staying ahead of this juggernaut of a Tesla trade. And again, I started with 1/3 of my capital committed. I'm now 2/3 of my capital into the Tesla trade. I rolled it out and up at a credit. Okay, so out, up, and at a credit. So it's the perfect, it's the perfect roll. It's the trifecta. It's what we're trying to do with all of our adjustments. It's not always possible, of course, but it is the goal. It is what we try to get done. Okay, let me get this posted. Okay, got that up. All right, I'm just going to continue to work through these things here slowly. Okay, next up for me, folks, is I am going to, I believe, go ahead and book my profits on the Apple trade. I think that at least in this current iteration, with the amount of time that we have left, which is not quite enough anymore. It's not quite optimal anymore for our long put or excuse me, our long call leg. And the deltas are getting a little off, things like that. I think I'm just going to go ahead and book my profit in the Apple trade. So I'm going to start with, let's close this short call leg first. Let's see what I can get price wise here. Okay, so I got that closed. Let me get the other one closed, and we'll post them both up here. I still got one open here. Close. Why is that not showing? Okay, getting there, getting there, getting there, getting there. And then last but not least, the long leg. There we go. Okay. Out of these. Locked in. There we go. Okay, I just keep working down the list here. One thing that, excuse me, one thing that I did just want to mention, again, you know, you're always looking for the catalysts that are driving your positions up, down, sideways, whatever it is. And then, you know, what that, and I always like to look at what that initial reaction is to that catalyst, and then what the follow through is to that catalyst. And so I had mentioned this, and again, I know officially as a group we're out of all of our nat gas trades, but I'm just referencing my 40 for 40 nat gas trade here down at the bottom of my screen here. You know, I last 4 or 5 weeks, as I've said, we've had the nat gas numbers come out. Supply is constrained. We know that, and the price has pushed up on those release data, and every single time it has sort of come back. And that price action is almost more important to me than the fact that it's actually constrained and pushing up to begin with. And I'm kind of seeing that here again today. We're up almost 20 cents or so, and now we're back down to 13 cents. So I'm liking that price action. Like, you look at the price action and you like it. Spooky, reading the research article on the yen, it appears the yen trade, let me move this out of the way. I got too many things covering up what I'm trying to read here. The yen trade nicely hedged against your nat gas position. No, that's the idea. That's kind of the idea, Spooky. Good insight there. That's correct. Could you please flash the overall new position in Apple? Enyon, there is no new position. We closed it out. We booked the profits. We booked the profits in Apple. Yeah, book profits on it. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna keep working through here, guys. So I'll just be popping in and out here for a little bit. Spooky, you've got a question on the yen trade. Look, I mean, again, it's probably the death knell to the trade, right? To say that it is of the 87 million trades we've still got going on here, it's probably my favorite. But the metrics of that trade are just phenomenal, just absolutely phenomenal. You know, again, I'll go back to my son's example. Okay. So he put up, now, if you look at cap requirements here again, you know, his actual number is about $3,200, but he's going to be committed here to about $4,000. And this is a very simple trade here, right? The trade that he's got going on in the yen is a very simple trade. It's a very straightforward trade. It's a cash secured put right. It is a wheel trade. It is the simplest of examples of a wheel trade. That's all it is, right? And don't get, I forget who it was that is just absolutely a wizard, an absolute amazing wizard at the math. Someone in here, again, I need to give credit where credit is due, but someone in here did a just absolutely bang up, beautiful, beautiful job yesterday in the chat room of delineating out the mathematics behind figuring out what a tick is worth and what the price is worth. And then at the end, they of beautifully detailing all of that, they said, and you could just look in the risk graph. And that's the easiest way. Rather than me going through the math on this, I'm just gonna and what this number means and all that good stuff, just look at it in a risk graph. But the point here is this is his trade, right? So he's sold two of these down here that would commit him to buy the yen, go long the yen here at this particular price. And again, if you look at the yen, I won't go into all of the detail here. Take a moment if you are interested in it and look at the research report that I posted yesterday in here. But this has just absolutely been beat up. The price of the yen has absolutely been beat up. And I think it is a really, really good entry point. Now, the yen currency, we're talking about currency, right? It's not quite the same deal as commodities, where, you know, commodities, the number one thing I love about them is it's just supply demand, right? That's all it is. Again, we're looking at Tesla, right? We're trading Tesla, and look at all of the things that we have to do. There's a little bit of headline risk news always with Elon Musk. It's kind of like when Trump was president. You know, you never know what the next tweet is going to bring. So there's a little headline risk that news issue there with Elon Musk being the CEO. You've got car sales, you got profit margins, you got with their solar division. I mean, there's so many factors going in to, you know, there's yet all of the analysts upgrading or downgrading. I mean, there's so many variables that go into making that underlying move up and down. And with most commodities, it's just supply and demand. So it's not quite that easy with currency trades. It is very much just a technical trade. It is just a technical setup trade. I'm going to pull a graph here from my Forex account, kind of show you what I was looking at that was sort of the impetus for this trade. But anyway, let's say that he's got $4,000 tied up in this trade, right? That $4,000 in the next 2 weeks is going to bring in almost $700 of income just from the premium, right? So that in and of itself is pretty darn impressive. But then if you go look at the next month's expiration, and again, this is 42 days out, so we're a little bit earlier here, but let's say that you really don't like the trade. I do like the trade. We talked about where and how to cover a trade, and we go from the extreme of not covering it at all to have maximum potential to covering it at the money, or as the case was with our Apple trade, covering it even a little in the money to give you maximum safety, maximum certainty, right? You want certainty or do you want opportunity? Let's say that you didn't even like this trade anymore and you wanted max certainty. Selling these at the money options right now, let's sell 2 of them. That's $1,800. So think about that for a minute. This is the 45-day window that we're talking about, right? This expiration cycle that ends in 15 days, the next one that ends in 45 days. That's close to $2,700 of income in a 45-day window. $2,700 of income on a $4,000 investment. I didn't go to math college, but that's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's as I said, if I can free up some buying power in here, that is a trade that I would even maybe potentially, I mean, we'll see how the nat gas trade in the 40 for 40 plan goes, but that's a trade I would throw 40 or 50 grand back into. Maybe exchange the nat gas trade in the 40. Although I will say this, if the nat gas trade in its current iteration works, the 40 for 40 plan is done. The whole idea behind that was, could we take 40 grand, generate 40 grand of income off of it in a 12-month period of time? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. We will have generated more than 40 grand of income off of $40,000 of capital in much less than a 1-year period of time. If it works, right? We still got to get that 10, 11 grand of extrinsic there. But anyway, the 80 for 40 plan. I don't know. I've enjoyed doing them. The trades have been profitable. It's obviously I would rather have the 40 grand than not have the 40 grand. So I'm grateful that I did it, but it's really been a pain in here with you guys doing trades and then at the same time telling you, don't do that. Don't do that trade. So I may just do a large version of the yen trade and just tell you guys that, you know, hey, I'm purposely over position sized here. You own your own trade. You do it accordingly to what you would feel comfortable with. But anyway, I see a couple questions coming in. Petrosoft, what? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Wendy, I wasn't able to get in the yen trade yesterday. Is there still a good? I think it's still a good entry point. Look, this is going to bounce around. You guys understand this. We've done commodity trades enough at this point. You have seen my nat gas trade enough at this point to kind of understand that your P&L on this thing is going to bounce around, right? So I don't think that one day, short answer, yeah. I don't think that the trade has substantively changed at all between today and yesterday. So yeah, I think you're fine. Okay, guys, we're getting a little bit of the price action that we had hoped for. And I had mentioned earlier that I was hopeful that we would get a 100% capture rate on our 0DTE today. It's looking pretty good right now. I got one contract. I got one contract on my 0DTE. It's all I had. It's all I had buying power wise. So hopefully you guys are properly position sized and you got a good chunk on that. but I did what I could do. So anyway, I'm going to go through a couple of trades here. We're getting some good price action in the market right now. I'm going to go through a couple of trades and just see where we're at. No real updates here, guys, right now here at the bottom of the hour. I'm just sort of in a holding pattern here right now for a little bit. Obviously need to do something on my GME position and the wheat position, but I'm watching those here for just a little bit. Give it just a little bit more time to work, and then we'll take a look at those. So just in a holding pattern right now. Okay, quick update there. You should have seen that trade entry come in. I did post a put leg addition to the 0 DTE. So let me see if we can find that here in this morass of trades that we've got going on. Here we go. No, yes, that's correct. NDX. Let me reposition these for just a second. There we go. NDX right here. So again, I'm in with my my massive one contract position here because that's all I had to work with here this morning as we got started. But the ROIs obviously still look pretty good. 1,500 into the trade, about $100 or so of income coming in on the trade. On the puts, 15,180 is that short leg there. So got a short leg in now on the 0 DTE. Just watching everything else here for a little bit longer, and we'll see if we can pull some trigger on some stuff here in just a little bit. All right, well, it's top of the hour check-in, and quite honestly, with the 8 million trades that we put on yesterday, and obviously some decent amount of activity and movement today in the marketplace, I had really anticipated that we would have more action here today, but it's not been as active as I thought it would be. Look at our positions here, and really everything is kind of clicking along okay right now. I'm watching our SPY trade. I'm just kind of watching how that develops. We're at about a 50% capture on the SPY trade right now, and I think that there's still some room to work with that, but obviously we don't want to give that away, right? So kind of watching that here a little bit. My E-mini position obviously is working quite nicely. 45.21 is where we're at, and my puts down here are at 44.80. So I think that we're good there. Still $200 of extrinsic. Again, I'm happy to bring in 1,500 a week on that, and if this week ends up around 2,200, that'd be great. That'd just be an awesome result. So again, we just kind of want to watch our SPY trade and not give that away. Very happy with my nat gas trade. That is giving back some of the gains that it had this morning, puts us into the green once again for the day. And again, if we can just get through today, grab a couple of days here on the weekend, and have a sort of a calm opening Sunday evening, I think that Monday this trade will look pretty darn amazing. So we'll see. We are almost at a full capture here on our NQ trade. This is the trade that we put on last night. And so I think that I may start looking to take that off. So that's one piece of activity that we might have to work with. Talked about my nat gas trade. coin is doing okay. Our corn trade is doing okay. There's our 0 DTE. Again, it would have been great if that would have been 15,000 and that was $1,100 of income. But you know, you work with what you got, right? You work with what you got, and so it's looking pretty good right now. We're getting pretty close to a very nice capture rate on our overall 0 DTE today. Tesla trade, we're doing a good job staying ahead of the darn thing. I'm really impressed with how adroit we have been with being able to manage it. So we'll keep working that as we go forward. Our BABA trade looks good. Our ETF on Bitcoin looks good. I am very, you know, it's interesting. It's been a while. I will say that it's been a while since we have had things where I have had things in the marketplace that come out that are really exciting. In the late 90s and the early 2000s, you had that explosion of ETFs, and I just remember almost weekly that there was some newfangled cool ETF that was coming out. I still remember when the buy right ETFs came out. So they're still out there today, but you had these ETFs that would, you know, that were essentially the SPY, the SPY. They would buy the S&P 500, but then they would write covered calls on the S&P 500, and that was all done inside of the ETF, right? So that's kind of cool. You could just buy an ETF. You didn't have to, you know, buy the index and write covered calls on it. It would be done for you inside of this ETF. Then they got optionable, and now you're like, okay, so now I can write covered calls on the covered calls. And there was just always new and cool and newfangled ideas. You don't really see that much anymore, but I kind of feel that way. I get that feeling with BITO. I think that it's going to be a really, really solid trading vehicle for us. It looks really good here, but again, there's just not a whole bunch of stuff that we need to necessarily be focusing on right now. You know, there's a couple little tiny hot spots here and there in our trades, but you know, GME being probably the main one right now, and then our wheat trade being one as well. I'm watching the wheat trade pretty closely. It obviously right now is in the profit zone, but it's right there on that edge, right? So we'll kind of see how that develops here. Adam, with X doing earnings next week, would you skip the strangle or try to harvest some of that ball crush? You know, that's a good question, Adam. I'd have to maybe run the numbers on that. I haven't looked yet on X, on Steel. I haven't looked at any of their numbers on earnings, and I don't know offhand if there's enough of a vol crush there to do it or not. I don't know. I'm not really sure on that. So we'll look at that. You know, obviously our U.S. Steel position that we have going on right now today expires. But we'll look at all those earnings trades coming up next week, and that one might be on the list. But I don't know that it's going to have enough volatility crush to be something that we would want to do, but we can definitely look at it. I'm just looking at, you know, again, guys, I had anticipated that we would be closing down a bunch of these positions and booking profits and maneuvering and doing stuff. And we have a little bit, obviously, but not as much as I anticipated. But, you know, again, everything looks really solid here. Again, save for maybe our wheat trade and our GME trade, And I do want to just give those both just a little bit more time to work. So I'll check back in with you guys in a little bit. I saw your post, John. I'm it's always, I always feel bad when you have one particular underline that is just giving you a headache, giving you heartburn. But anyway, we'll check back in a little bit, guys. Hey guys. Yeah, again, I really thought that we were just going to be pounding trades all day long and booking profits and shifting things around. And it's amazing to me that with all of these trades that we got going, that everything is just really as stable as it is. Save again for maybe our wheat trade, which is hanging in there quite nicely. Again, we do have the early expiration or early end to the trading day on the commodities. So, you know, theta is, you know, hopefully going to start working for us here on that trade. I'm just kind of watching that very closely. And then, you know, really just our GME. I mean, if you look at that list of trades that we got going on there, the fact that we've got one trade that really is in focus is just amazing. Really, it really is amazing. I am going to look at taking some profits here on our 0 DTE. I want to look at my numbers on the NDX. I think I'm into our 0 DTE on both sides. Somewhere, well, let me refresh this. I thought that I was seeing different numbers. There we go. I don't know why that takes a tough time like that to update. So that's where I thought I was at, was $1.10. I'm into our 0 DTE today at $1.10. And let's see what I can get exit wise on it. In at $1.10, and let's see what we can get. If I could get below 40 cents, that would be a great capture rate. I don't know if I can, but we'll try to work up there and see where we're at on it. Still, you know, fairly well positioned there in the trade. Not too bad of positioning there. Go to 40. No go. So I'm going to probably leave that trade in and just let it work for a little bit. If it doesn't go, I may come back and, you know, split it up into separate legs. Do the puts on one side and the calls on the other. But I'll let it work for just a little bit right now. So I'll leave that open and working. And let me capture that also and put it in there, just in the normal channel. So taking a look at our NDX trade, let's go into our trade tab. And there's the calls. That's the problem right in there. That's what's causing the issue. No bid on that, and just massive, right? Just a massive spread. Not really an issue on the put side, but it's an issue on the call side. So I'm not getting the fill that I'd wanted there just because of that, because that's kind of sloppy right now. So I'm going to leave this here, but I don't think I'm going to get a fill. I see somebody got a fill at, in here. 38. Patrosoft, you got a fill at 38 cents. I'm showing a mid price in the 20s, and I'm not getting filled at 40. So I'm going to leave it. I'm going to let it work for a little bit, but it doesn't look like that's going to go with that 0 bid on the. So I can come adjust it if I need to. but I'm going to let it sit for just a little bit longer. Bottom of the hour update here, guys, and we just keep chugging right along. Not a whole heck of a lot else to talk about. So again, I'm just watching the price action on everything, watching the price action on our Russell trade, obviously watching our SPY trade. There's we're in the profit zone on our SPY trade, but there's a lot of extrinsic value still left there, and we're obviously very close to the strike price. So we just want to keep that in mind and watch that. So there's a lot of things, you know, obviously GME, we're still watching. There we go. There's my fill on the 0DTE. So there's my take profit order on the 0DTE. Not a whole lot of dollar profit for me today on the 0DTE. You guys know that I kind of try to shoot for about $1,000 a day on my 0DTEs. But you got to trade the capital that you are available, that you have available to trade, right? And that's what I had. That's what I had this morning when we got started. So hopefully that was a good trade for everybody. Booking profits. 0DTE, and I think that we hit the timing on that, obviously just perfect today, just perfect on the timing. Probably I don't even want to look, but probably could have done much better, got a much better fill had I broken those up, had I maybe just left the long leg alone that had a zero bid. But nevertheless, it's a good trade. Yeah, there you go. I mean, a profit is a profit, right? A profit is a profit. Well, I hear you, Steve. I hear you. But look, that's why we talk percentages, right? That's why we talk percentages, because that's how someone that's trading $1,000 can compare their results and their proficiency and all that good stuff with someone that's trading $1 million, right? And it's not about dollars. It's not about dollars and cents. I told you guys this is one of my biggest issues with all these people on social media all the time. You know, we just made 10 grand today in our trading room, or we just made 10 grand on this trade. I'm like, yeah, how? And they never tell you how much capital they had in play to do that, right? So percentage wise, that was a pretty darn good day for our NDX. And, here we are even before the halfway point in the day, and we're out, right? So that's nice. That's nice. Ryan, if you're out of buying power, maybe you can ask your son for a loan. He pulls it out, though, as fast as he puts it in. He seems to continue to find things to spend it on, but yeah, he's doing all right. So okay, very happy. Again, this is not really reflective of anything that we're doing as a group here, but I'm very happy with the price action on the nat gas trade. Kind of seeing it retrace a little bit back here. We're obviously watching everything else that's going on. And again, guys, by and large, everything looks pretty good. I did want to just, again, I wanted to reiterate that point. The nuances of trades are so important to understand. And I just watched the last 2 days. Now, granted, and I'm talking about our oil trade, the CL trade. Excuse me. Granted, oil is up slightly today, and we have a little bit of a negative delta there in the trade. And so you would imagine that we are, going a little red today on the oil trade. That makes sense. But the last 2 days, again, we had this little negative delta here. In the last 2 days, oil was down, and it wasn't working. The trade wasn't building profits. And it is because of that fact that as you get movement and IV bumps, it bumps in any direction, right? It doesn't matter whether something's going up or down, which is different than the indexes. When the indices like we are right now are pushing to these all-time highs, we're getting IV dropping. So they are a little bit more complex. They're a little bit more tricky to trade. I still love, obviously, I love the oil trade. It's more of a long-term trade. And we talked about this a little bit, I think, on Wednesday as well. The importance of really diversifying out our trades. And when I say diversify our trades, I'm talking we diversify them through numbers of positions, through different strategies, through different asset allocations. How are you putting your money into the trades, and time diversification. Time diversification is a big deal. So that's one of the first things. Anytime any of you guys schedule a Zoom session with me or want to chat or something, and you're like, I don't know if I'm positioned well. I've got this big portfolio. That's one of the first things I look at is, where are your expiration dates? Your expiration dates for your trades should kind of be all over the map. They should kind of be all over the place, right? If everything you've got is 45 days, or if everything you've got is, just a 1 or a 2 or a 3 DTE, that's not good. So you want to break up your maturity lengths on all of your trades as well. But anyway, not a whole heck of a lot else to talk about here. Again, we're just watching these trades develop. Our wheat trade is coming into its own here. That might be a trade that we would have maybe potentially booked a loss on. That's not a trade to roll. That's not a real trade that we would want to roll. Just simply because you're rolling out for an entire month, and that doesn't make a lot of sense. So that might be a trade that I end up booking a profit on here in a minute. But other than that, just watching our GME trade, watching the SPY trade, we're watching everything else that we're in, but it's pretty solid. Stefan, able to follow your NG trade was awesome. I would have been about 218 heart attacks. They call it the Widowmaker for a very, very specific reason, right? So yeah, it's all over the place, that's for sure. But like I said, I took a very long-term view on it. And you're gluten sensitive, you have gluten intolerance issues. I took a long-term view on that, and I still do. I don't know. The nat gas trade could work out quite nicely to where it's more priced in a middle ground where it's not really overbought or really oversold, and then it makes it harder to trade. And then maybe I'm done with it. Maybe I'm just done with it at that point. But my intention was, more long term, maybe out to January on that trade. So again, what's going to happen on the nat gas trade on October 26th is not going to probably be the end all be all of the trade, but it's looking pretty good right now. Okay, guys, I'm going to take just a little break, and we'll be back at the top of the hour. So quickly, guys, I did want to touch base on this. I guess, first of all, we can use this as our top of the hour update, because there's not a whole heck of a lot else to talk about. You might have seen it flashed briefly on the screen here. I did try, and I'm gonna say again, I don't want to raise expectations, but I still think I tried to get in another leg on the NDX once again. I'm not trying to establish that 5 0 DTEs a day are going to become the norm, but I tried to get another leg in on the NDX. I couldn't get even close to the pricing that I thought I needed. So I'm going to keep watching that, because you never know. But with regards to my comment on going long on the yen, this chart that I put up here in Discord, it was a little confusing to some, and I get it. I totally understand that, because this is a Forex trade, and Forex trades, in Forex, it's currency, right? You're trading currency, but you're not trading the US dollar. You're not trading the Japanese yen. You're not trading the British pound. You are trading pairs. you are trading the relationship between two different currencies. And so this is the dollar pound right here. And the dollar has been very strong and the pound has been very weak. And so this is quoted in dollars. And so you can see what's happened there. But if you were just to invert that chart, that would tell you what has happened with the yen. The yen has absolutely just been crushed. It's just been decimated. So in terms of a directional, we don't play a lot of things directionally, do we? We don't do a lot of just directional trades. Almost everything is just cash flow and theta and trading ranges versus directions, but that would be a directional. The nat gas trade for me was a directional trade, right? We were, what I felt was way too overextended, way too overbought. And so that was a very directional trade. The yen for me is a very directional trade as well. If my son, let me grab his stuff. If he gets, if he doesn't get executed on these cash secured puts, right? If in the next 14 days, the yen doesn't come down to this price and triggering him in, fantastic. He's made almost $700 on a $3,600 investment, right? So in 2 weeks, so fine. But if he does get triggered in on those, I'm very, very tempted to not cover those at all. To not cover those at all, make it maybe a 5 or a 6 month or even a 7 month long trade, and let that play out over time from a directional standpoint. So, generally I like cash flow, and that's why I say, and I come back to, let me change his chart right here back to the chart so I can watch the price action. That's why I say that this number for me right here in my E-mini position is not, I was going to say it's not terribly important. Of course it's important, right? But it doesn't hold the importance that you might think it does, because you will see that it's really only on maybe scalping occasions that I leave a directional trade alone. I just put it on and leave it, right? Not very often that I'll go long the E-minis or go short the E-minis and just leave them, just let them ride. I'm almost always cash flowing them. I'm almost always covering them. And so the idea that, I'm going to have a short E-mini position here and the market's going to crash and I'm going to make all of this money, that's probably never going to happen for me, because it will be probably covered and it will be limited to the amount of profit that I can get, right? It's more oriented for cash flow purposes. But there are occasions, and the nat gas was one. I think the yen is one too, where you can kind of say, listen, I'm going to, this is like a commodity. It's like the softs. It's like the nat gas. My P&L on this is probably going to bounce all over the place. It's going to bounce around, right? I need to be comfortable with that. I'm going to look at it from a long-term perspective. And when I say long-term, I'm talking probably 6 months. Currencies don't turn on a dime. But I think that it has a lot of potential. Rosalind, still in the coin trade. Did that get closed, or are we just waiting to roll? So no, we're still working the coin trade. We have had quite a few changes in the coin trade. So I've talked to a couple of people individually that got caught off guard a little bit on that, or that missed a couple of those. So make sure that your iteration of the coin trade is somewhat similar to what we're doing here as a group. We do have a lot of things going on there inside of the coin trade, but we're still working it. And again, remember that this number right here on our coin trade, that's not reflective of what our overall P&L on the trade is, because we did book a pretty substantive profit on one portion of the trade that we closed out. And then we've added cash flow to the trade as well. So we are still down. Let's be clear. We are still down on the coin trade, but it's not nearly as bad as it looks here. This is obviously just our current open positions. We've booked other trades and booked other profits on the trade. We went through the history tab on Wednesday and looked at that, and we'll do it again on Monday once these positions expire. So we do have quite a few positions here in coin that are expiring today. And then we've got essentially an iron condor that has still 2 weeks to go in it. So we'll continue to work this trade. We'll continue to work it. Let's see, Adam, let's say that we get to the end of the day and X is looking to close in the money. Would you close it or take assignment? Well, let's take a look at it. It looks close, right? It's kind of been sitting here all day. So my feeling is on that. X is in kind of it's kind of gotten lost, unfortunately, today in the shuffle, because we do have so many other trades going on, but it's right in there with, for me, it's right in there with our SPY trade that we're watching very closely, our Russell trade that we're watching very closely, our wheat trade, and then of course our GME trade. X is in there. It's obviously close, but I think we're okay. I think we're okay on it. We are slightly in the profit zone. Again, if we talk percentages, we're at a 30% capture rate on my $14 trade, my $14 income trade, but we're still in the realm. So I'm going to let it play out for just a little bit longer here. And I do think that that's a trade that we could, we probably wouldn't take assignment on. I don't think we would probably do something with it. And Jan, I must have missed the mention in the morning session, game plan for GME, game plan for GameStop. Yeah, we're still working it. We're still working it. It's been coming back here just a tad. And the thing that I'm watching right now, in Jan, is we're very close here. Our short, obviously it's our put legs that are concerning here, right? Short at the 175 by 170 levels, and we're in between those right now. And if we can bump just a little bit, we don't need to bump too much, but if we can bump just a little bit, we actually start to get back into having positive theta in the trade. But that's a trade that we're obviously working on as well. Another one on our watch list. Again, our SPY trade, our Russell trade, our wheat trade, although that's becoming less of a concern. Our X trade, and then our GME trade. Those are probably the 5 that are on the watch list right now that we potentially will need to do something with or will do something with. But we've still got some time. We're just about halfway through the day right now. So halfway through the day, got a little bit more time to go. And let's take a look at the X trade. Again, I get, I tell you guys that it's all about trading to trade well, and the dollar amount doesn't matter, and we look at percentages and all that good stuff. But obviously you guys know the balances that I trade and the amounts that I trade and my daily income goals. And so for a trade that's $14, we are almost at a 50% capture rate on X right now. But it's not something that is really drawing my focus today. But let's look at the numbers on it, because hopefully, just like our zero DTE today on the NDX, hopefully you were able to grab a little bit more of that trade than I was today. And hopefully it's the same for X. So I got in that trade at a 14-cent credit. which obviously makes sense. I got one contract, so $14, right? 14-cent credit. And I think that the most expeditious way, if we were to close it out at this point, would be to leave the put leg in place and just close the calls. And we could get out at a 9-cent debit. So it's not the best capture rate in the world, but again, I'm going to leave it for just a little bit and let it work, because I do think that I think it's okay. We're close, obviously, to that call leg, but I think that it's okay. Can we take it all the way to expiration? Well, that remains to be seen, right? But we'll watch it and see on it, kind of how it goes. So, all right, guys, not a whole heck of a lot else to talk about here at this point. So we'll just check back in either at the bottom of the hour, or unless something really substantively changes, or unless you guys have some specific questions that I need to jump back in on the Zoom for. Alrighty, bottom of the hour update, folks, and things continue to look good. Things are looking good, guys. There's not a whole heck of a lot to talk about, but let's take a moment and just go through a couple of the key things that we're looking at, okay? The SPY trade, very, very sticky here. We're just kind of trying to cling to an overall profit. And that makes sense, obviously, since we're only $1 away from the call spread. This is a very easy trade at this price to be able to roll. You know, the prices could change dramatically, and that would affect our ability to roll that. But this would be a very easy trade to roll out and up at a credit, sort of the trifecta that we look for, if needs be. So continue to hold it here. You know, all things being equal, I'd rather just book a profit, even if it's not a full capture, and then just reset for next Monday. But we're watching that, and I think that the price action is okay here. Again, obviously very close to the call leg, but we're watching that. The E-mini trades that I've got going on, I got a couple of things going on there. Got it, you know, covered with a put spread on the bottom and a call spread on the top. Both of those look pretty safe. There's not much extrinsic value left in that anymore. Again, pretty happy with my E-mini short position based on the amount of income that I was able to bring in versus what I kind of expected that I was going to be able to bring in. Our Russell trade is finally, you know, here we are halfway, just a little bit more than halfway through the day. And our Russell trade is finally now showing a really, really strong capture rate. Our Russell trade, and we have two of these. I'm going to grab my sons here in just a second. 2270 is the short leg, 2315 is the call leg. It looks okay right now, but just keep in mind, here's your FYI, right? Very, very good capture rate right now. That would be a 7% return on that trade in just a couple of days. That's nothing to just walk away from. So just be aware of that. If you want to start booking profits, now is probably a good time to look at doing that. My son's trade, let's look at that one. Sort of a similar situation here, where 2265 is his short leg, 2335. So he's got a little bit more room to work with on that one. $190 of extrinsic value left there. And again, 10 grand into the trade with almost $700 profit, showing almost a 7% ROI on that version. As well. And so again, you don't want to let those kinds of returns slip away, right? So the Russell trade looks good. My NQ trade, this is the trade that we put on last night. Beautiful. Just a 10% return in one day, and nothing really to worry about. No maintenance issues on that. Just a beautiful, beautiful trade. And I love it. I love it. The yen trade looks good. It's going to bounce around. It may not be as bad as the nat gas trade, but it is going to bounce around. Okay, so take it for what it's worth. But it's again more long-term oriented. Our coin trade moving in the right direction. That's wonderful. our corn trade right here. We have, as you should know, the expirations coming up on our softs trades here in less than an hour. So 20 minutes after the next hour, that would be 12:20 p.m. Mountain Time, my time. So just a little, basically 50 minutes from now is when these markets close. And they are deliverable. So we want to close these out prior to that if we need to. And I think right now it's probably only the wheat trade that would be in focus there. The corn trade, excuse me, looks really good. TDOC, we've done some good adjusting on that. I like the new setup that we've got there. Our BABA trade looks good going into close. BITO, that's a ticker symbol that I think we're going to become very, very familiar with over time. That trade looks awesome as well. What an absolutely fun trade, right? 10% return on that trade overnight. Our Tesla trade, we're doing everything we can to stay ahead of that one, and we're doing a pretty good job of it, I might say. So I think that that's pretty good. Our soybean trade right now looks pretty solid. I wouldn't think that we would need to do anything on that one in the next 50 minutes before the commodities close. Our Bed Bath & Beyond trade, I continue to wait patiently. I continue to wait patiently to get assigned on one of these wheel trades, and we might have that happen here on Bed Bath & Beyond. We talked about Tesla. Our CAT trade looks good. Our X trade looks good. It looks fine. Nothing really too much to talk about right there. We're well over a 50% capture rate on that. So if you have a substantial amount of money in the X trade, now's a great time to start looking at booking profits on that trade. I'm going to probably continue to hold that for a little bit longer. I may book those profits as well. We'll look at those here after we've gone through talking about everything. DAL, that's a wheel trade, and that looks solid right here. BTCM, sort of the same deal, looks okay right here. My Tesla keeps moving around on me. That's fine. We think we did a good job of staying ahead of that. Our Crocs trade looks okay. We've got a long time. We've got a long time in this trade. I would prefer to not be holding that for that amount of time. I would hope that we could get a little bit earlier exit on that, but we do still need to let that work for quite a while. JMIA is coming down, and we might get a execution on that, an assignment on that as well, which would be great, and we could start the wheel trade aspect of it. Oil, along with my nat gas, pushing up a little bit today. There's a little bit of sympathy in that trade, but we're well positioned in that trade, and we still got a lot of time to go. This is one of the reasons why I have mentioned to you guys that, generally speaking, on these commodity trades that have monthly expirations, I would prefer to not be in them longer than about 3 weeks. 21 days is about as long as I generally want to be in those, because you don't really get any extra bang for your buck here by going into them longer. But that was when the setup presented itself, and that's when the expiration was. So that's what we went with. But I still continue to like our oil trade. I think that looks really, really solid here. Our wheat trade is inside of the strike price right now. Again, we want to do something with that before 20 minutes after the hour, coming up here just a little less than an hour. Got about $50 of extrinsic value, down about $100. So it's not a big deal. Break even on this trade would be 756. 756. If this just dropped by 50 cents, our loss here would equal our extrinsic value there. So 50 cents away from a break even on that. But that's something that we will need to do something with prior to 20 minutes after the next hour. My nat gas trade is looking okay. It's hanging in there. And then GME is something that we're going to want to work on as well. So it's really, at this point in the day, we need to keep an eye on our SPY trade. may start booking some profits on the Russell's trades, both the Russell trades. We have two of them going on. I might start booking profits on both of those, but we'll keep an eye on the SPY trade, the wheat trade, and the GME. I think that our X trade is fine to leave alone. So it's kind of where we're at, and we'll check back in just a little bit. Okay, hope you guys caught that. I did throw in another 0 DTE there on the NDX. On the call side this time, there's my fill right there, and it should have gotten posted 69 cents. It's not a great fill. I've tried, I think this is maybe the fourth time that I've tried to get another 0 DT going today, and it's just been tough on all of them to try to get anything close to what the quote is showing versus what you would actually get executed at. Same thing here. So it wasn't the best of fills on that, and it's obviously reflected there in my price right up front, but nevertheless, it's up and running. Let me refresh some of my numbers on here. On that NDX, I got about $9 grand into the trade with about $400 of income. And again, not the best of fills, not the best pricing on that, but nevertheless, that's where we're at. And so we're up and running here on our second 0 DTE today. We'll see kind of how that goes. Again, we're just watching everything else. Probably, we've got, again, 20 minutes after the hour coming up, 20 minutes after the hour. So about a half hour from now is when our commodity trades close. And we've got the wheat trade here, just kind of bouncing around that level. So I'm going to give it a little bit more time to work, but just be aware of that time frame as we get closer here. And yeah, I'm going to take just a little bit of a look through everything, but I think that, everything else that we've got going looks pretty solid. Hopefully we can get to a point here. We're almost at the top of the hour. We're getting to where we've got about 2 hours left in the day. And so hopefully we're getting to a point here where Theta can help us a little bit on our 4 DTE SPY trade. And it just, we might have to call it a victory today on our SPY trade if we can get out at any level of a profit. I was really hoping for a full capture rate today, and that still may be the case. But we don't want to, as Adam has mentioned, as a couple of people have mentioned today, as you get to expiration date and you get closer to that expiration time and you have trades that are pinning or very close to your strike prices, gamma becomes the most dangerous and the most unpredictable of the option Greeks, and it can really swing a trade dramatically. Just a few pennies here or there can really swing a trade. So hopefully we get a little bit of price action. Hopefully we get a little bit of movement of time. If we could even get the SPY down just another maybe 10 cents and another hour of passage of time, I think we would get an okay capture rate potential on the SPY. So we're watching that. And of course, our main focus right now, or what is going to be our main focus here pretty soon, is going to be the wheat trade. And then we will go to working on the GME trade. So that's kind of where we're at right now. All righty. As they say, patience is a virtue. And we were patient on our wheat trade, and I was able to exit on the call side. I still have the put leg in there on the wheat trade. That looks fine. That looks like that should close itself out in 17 minutes on its own. And so not bad, not the greatest return in the world, but profitable. And I'm pretty happy with that. We're already into the profit zone on our second 0 DTE for the day. I really hate to set this precedent. Like, I really, really hate to set this precedent that I just had some direct messages and some conversations with some of you, with a couple of you yesterday that are founding members of this program. You guys started with me back in the day where we were doing 3 trades a week. This program was 3 trades a week, one Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 0 DTE. That was it, you know. And then and now we're doing more. We've done more 0 DTEs in one day than we did in a month in some cases. So I don't want to set that as a precedent. I don't want to set today as a precedent that, yeah, we're just going to be doing multiple, but the NASDAQ is just juicy right now. The NASDAQ is juicy with premium. So we, you know, we make hay when the sun shines, right? We make hay when the sun shines. So got our wheat trade out of the way. Very, very happy with that. Very pleased with that. We showed a lot of discipline there. And now really we're just kind of left with watching our SPY trade. Our SPY trade is really starting to come into its own now. Still not a amazing capture rate, but it's moving in the right direction, right? It's moving in the right direction. And we might just have to be happy with that, taking what profit we can get on it, and then we live to fight another day. We come back on Monday of next week. So we'll watch that and see how that goes. Our Russell trade is being kind of like the Russell trades always are. It's being just a little bit stubborn here. I would think that we would have that we would be showing a little bit better capture rate right now than that, but you know, it is what it is. It's still obviously an amazing capture rate. The NQ trade that I put on last night, such a beautiful trade, just an awesome trade. Again, that was a trade last night that I was kind of kicking myself over, just because I didn't have very much buying power, and I would have willingly thrown 30 grand into that trade instead of 3 grand if I had it, but I just didn't have it in this account. We don't really need to talk about the yen trade. We kind of talked about that. Our 0 DTE right now, it's working in the right direction. We just need to watch that. I think we're pretty safe here, but you just never know. You just never know in today's market. But I think we got a good feel on that. And, you know, that'd be a nice return. That would be what, about almost a 5% ROI for half the day. 5% ROI for half the day on a one leg of a trade. That's about as good as you're going to get, really. So we'll let that keep working, kind of see how that goes. The BABA trade looks good. I think we're fine now on the wheat trade. I'll just let the put leg kind of do its own thing. I'm looking at our other commodity trades. Again, corn looks okay to allow it to just kind of sit there and go to expiration. The wheat trade now is okay. Our soybean trade also looks good. So all of these are at really good positions to kind of allow them just to expire on their own. Our cat trade looks good. We've talked a couple of times about X, and we're at a really good capture rate right now. So again, if you were in a better position than I was to position size this trade, and you've got a decent amount of capital in it right now with X, it's a lovely time. It's an absolutely lovely time right now to book those profits. As it is, I do feel comfortable continuing for me to allow this trade to sit here and work. So continue to let it work. The Crocs trade, again, I will mention this again. We do have 28 days to go in this trade. However, I do feel like we'll be able to get out of this a lot earlier than that time frame. I see a question from Donald coming in. That trade, the NQ trade last night, how often did you look at it during the wee hours of the morning? I didn't look at it once. I didn't look at it once. Yeah, not one single time. I actually got a good night's sleep last night. But usually I will look at futures a couple of times. I'll usually let them open up for about an hour, and I'll look at them then, in the evening. For me, it's in the evening. And then when Europe opens, and then when Asia opens. So there's a couple of times that I'll usually look at them. It's when Europe opens and when Asia opens, I'll look at them at those points in time. But yeah, last night I just kind of slept right through it. Okay. We talked about all of these. I think that they're fine. We'll look at adding. We've got the advantage now with our Tesla trade that we've got 14 days still left in it. So we've got the ability now. There's no real precedent. There's no real need right now to do anything. But we will come back on that on next week, if not Monday, on Tuesday. Look to, again, come back in and pepper in a little bit on the put side of that to try to continue to enhance the income potential of that trade as we just keep pushing higher and higher. All-time high, right? Above $900 a share for Tesla. So the darn thing is been a really, really impressive run for sure. Our oil trade is fine. I think that we're well positioned on the oil trade, but we've got a while for that thing to play out. And we talked about our 0 DTE. We'll let that work for a little bit. And so we're kind of down to now the GME and our SPY trade. I may look at booking profits on the Russell trade. I got the Russell trade in here. I got the Russell trade in my Sun account, but the Russell index right now looks pretty stable. It looks okay. So as long as that kind of maintains the status quo, I'm gonna kind of hang out in that trade and maybe let it do its thing. So it's probably going to be probably GME will be the next one up on the docket to take a look at. So I'll go through a couple different iterations there, see what I can find and see what we do there. Okay, guys, I'm adding a put leg to our 0 DTE. There's the fill right there. It's at the 15,280 by 15,270, 65 cents is what I got on it. Let me get that in and recorded for you. So we've got a full iron condor going on now. Oh boy. Lost my channels. Okay, I'm going to post it right here until I can get that back. I don't know why that's collapsed. I'll post it right here for now, just so that you guys have that. Let's see if I can, there we go. Now it's back. All righty. So that's in, let's take a look now and kind of see where we're at on the trades. Whoops, there we go. Still just clinging there. Let me move this out of the way so I can see my charts. Just, just still clinging there, right? We're so close to the call leg on our SPY trade that theta alone is probably not going to do the job. We need a little bit of directional help, and we're not really getting it right here. We're not getting hurt, but we're not getting the help that we need either. So again, we're going to watch that a little bit, and I guess we get what we get on that. It is rollable. It's nicely rollable if we need to, but again, I would prefer to book a profit of at least a 50% capture rate, right? That would be $450 or so profit for me. Brought in 900 a premium on that. If I could book 450, that would be okay. But I got a ways to go on that. The ES trade, I think, is pretty much done for the day unless something massively changes. I haven't closed out anything on my E-mini position. I've still got that put leg and the call leg. They're far enough away that I think that they're okay, but I'm keeping an eye on that. I just want to watch that. The Russell trade, I don't see right now a need to close those out. And when I say those, I'm talking about both of those. I'm talking about the one in my son's account, and I'm talking about the one that we've got going here. They're both fairly close in nature. There's only about $90 of extrinsic value still left in the Russell trade, so that looks pretty good in his iteration of it. In ours here, we're starting to now get some pretty good capture coming through. So we'll watch those closely. The NQ trade is, for all intents and purposes, at a full profit level. Yen trade's doing okay. Coin is moving in our direction. We have closed out, we're done now with a lot of these commodity trades, our softs. We booked a full profit on our corn trade. That was a crazy good rate of return, about 8% return on our money for one day. The BABA trade is, again, performing quite nicely for us. I don't think we need to do anything there. We were able to pull out a nice profit on the wheat trade. Profit is profit, right? Green is green. So we were able to pull out a nice profit on the wheat trade. That was very nice. Very, very happy with that. BITO looking great. What a great, 10% ROI on that in one day. And that's awesome. TDOC is looking good. Our soybean trade is another max profit. That looks awesome. CAT looks good. X looks good going into expiration here. Our Bed Bath and Beyond and our DAL, our Delta, both wheel trades, those look good. Might do a little bit of touch up maybe on Monday or possibly Tuesday on BTCM. We'll see how that goes. But I think we're still a little early in that trade to know. We'll come back in next week on our Tesla trade, and we'll work on the put side on that. Continue to try to bring in a little extra income there. Our Crocs trade is hanging in there okay. Our NDX trade, our second go around today on our zero DTEs, just really, really, really hard, really, really tough to get good fill. The premium looks amazing. until you try to actually capture it, right? And it's just really tough right now on the darn thing to get fills anything close to what it's showing. But nevertheless, we have a second go around on our NDX trade here today for our 0 DTE. And again, just like crazy numbers, right? Where did it go? There's my NDX trade. Put up 9 grand and brought in $800 with like an hour and a half left to go in the day. That's crazy. That's crazy, crazy, crazy numbers, right? But anyway, that's continuing to work, and we'll continue to watch that. Yeah, and again, I think that we're just down now, really, to the GME trade, the SPY trade, still watching the SPY trade, and our NDX trade, right? So I'm going to watch those for just a little bit longer here, maybe up to the power hour or so, and then we'll see where we're at. Okay, here we are. Power hour is about to get cranked up, and there we go, right on cue. Thanks, I appreciate that. Yeah, so up and running in the power hour, again, we've gone through all of our positions. What an awesome week. What an absolutely just awesome week. What an awesome day yesterday, and what an awesome day today. I mean, it's just been a really, really good week. I'm looking here just briefly at my son's account. Let me just take a quick gander. Well, heck, let's not be lazy. Let's pull it over here for all to see. There's his, I mean, right there, you know, it's interesting. There's one thing that one idea I was just thinking of, and again, I don't know how you do it, and I'm not a tech guy, but I was part of a trading group, and granted, there was only 15 of us. Okay, so there was only 15 of us in this trading room. But we had a, I think maybe it was just done manually behind the scenes, which I definitely am not interested in doing. But I'm sure that there's a way that you can automate this where everybody in the room, you know, between the 15 of us, there was close to $40 million that was being traded. My portion of that being a smaller portion, but between the 15 of us, there was a ton of money being traded. And every day, we didn't post the results of the trades. You would just post, it would post the cumulative profit or loss on the day. And, you know, it's interesting. We've got about 200 members in this program, about 150 are active. And you would think that at least, you know, we would have a bare minimum of $25,000 each one of us in our accounts, or somewhere in that range. It would be interesting to see if we had the ability to do that, to look at what our cumulative profit for today and yesterday, but for the week is. It's got to be crazy, because you know, there's my son's Russell trade, you know, that's $800 in a day, just like that, right? There's $800. I think that trade, let me just look quickly at the strikes on it again. Yeah, I think he's okay there. I think it's okay. I'm going to watch it here. There's not much left in it, but I think that one is okay to leave. But that one was great. We've got our Russell trade going on in here as a group. There's, man, that thing is still sticky. There's still $200 left in that one. We've got the NQ trade, which was a 10% ROI overnight. And then we've got, what else did we have? We had, and then we had our first 0 DTE today, which was a nice profit. And now we've got another one, which we are at about 50%. We're almost at 50% capture rate right now on our current 0 DTE. So we've had a lot of nice wins here. We are still, of course, watching the SPY trade. I'm going to turn this back to a chart view so I can watch the chart for just a little bit. Again, we don't want to, you know, again, what we want and what the market will give us are always sometimes very different things. We would love what a capper it would be. What an absolute awesome capper it would be to this week if we could get a full capture on our SPY trade. But you know, what we want and what the market gives us are usually two different things, right? We're at a good capture rate now. We're at about a 50% capture rate, and that might be what we can get. I'm going to watch the price action for a little bit. The price action looks pretty good. It looks okay. Yeah, I can't, you know, Adam, to your question, there are so many cool things that we could do, right? If we could get a clean API on Tastyworks, and I don't know anybody that's got one. I don't know that they're. They say that they will offer it up, but I don't see it. You know, with something like a NinjaTrader or something, you've got all kinds of third-party stuff that is getting coded for stuff like that. But I don't know. We'll see. That's one of the things that I don't like about Tastyworks is that, you know, if you can't get access to an easy API, it's tough to get that third-party stuff sort of integrated. But anyway, I'm watching our SPY trade very closely here. We might just need to book profits on that. I'm probably going to start closing out some of these Russell trades. I'm going to probably close out my son's Russell trade, probably close out our Russell trade here. And then we need to do a roll on the GME. Unfortunately, on the GME, I started very small, just $1,000 there. So it's easy to scale on that. And I think we'll be able to scale that just fine. So I'm going to watch these for just a second. I'm going to try to pick and choose where I want to pull and what I want to pull. And then we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, guys, I am going to go ahead and book the profits on our current NDX trade. It looks like we're in a nicely solid profit zone there on that. So I'm going to go ahead and book those profits. I'm going to try to get 40 cents out of it. And we'll just work it from there, see where we have to get to. There are bids on both of the long legs. So we might have to go up a little bit. Still nothing. I'm at 56 cents now. Let's see what well, let's try one more here. We'll see what my actual cost in is. Let's see. Last two trades. Okay, so just above 130, 134. So we're getting close to a 50% capture rate here if I can't get it filled. Which I'm a little surprised. Probably not going to go above 65. I should be able to get a 50% capture on this thing at this point. It's not going. Okay, fine. Doesn't want to cooperate. So I will pull that order. I'll let it work for just a little bit longer. Okay, I'm going to let it work for just a little bit longer, and then I'll be back with it here. Looking at the SPY trade as well, we're almost at a 50% capture on the SPY trade also. So just depending on price action here, we need to work on one of those here shortly. Okay, you obviously saw the order coming through there on the NDX trade. I was able to get that cleared out. It was a tough one. It was a tough one. I had to split the order up, and I ended up getting it filled at almost 60 cents, 59 cents. So 89 cents total in and out. So a little bit more. I paid a little bit more on that than I would have liked to have paid, but nevertheless, we ended up with a nice profit on that. Let's look at the NDX. So open my close tab. 340 bucks. So not too shabby, not too bad at the end of the day. Okay, now still working the SPY trade and needing to do something on the GME trade, right? So I'm going to watch that here. Probably going to pull the trigger on the GME trade here in the next 10 minutes, maybe at the bottom of the hour. I'm letting the SPY trade continue to work for right now. All righty, guys, I went ahead and just locked in what profit that we did have. We had about a 50% capture on the SPY trade. I went ahead and locked it in. I think that we can get a little bit of extra sell-off here going into the end of the day, but better safe than sorry. We were close enough on that the Tasty Works, your brokerage account, may very well have closed them out on us anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and close those out, or I did close those out. I locked in the profit on the SPY trade. Now I'm going to start working on the GME trade. All righty, rolled the GME trade, rolled the trade out for a week, rolled it down substantially, rolled it at a credit by adding a few contracts to it. And I went from $1,000 of capital requirements on it to $4,000 of capital requirements on it. That will come back down now as we get into Monday and we add in the put leg. So it'll put me at about 50% all in on the trade once everything is settled there and done. And that gets us set up for next week. I think that will be a better level, obviously, to work with. And it works within the technical parameters of what we're seeing right now being traded. So we got that in and going. Just looking at everything else. Guys, it's been a good day. It's been a good day. I'm still watching our Russell trade. I haven't done anything. Still got my son's Russell trade going. His is showing with nothing left in it. All of the extrinsic value is out of that one. So, you know, I'm assuming that that's going to come in, and we got a half an hour left to go in the day. 2287 is where the Russell's at. 2265 is the put leg. 2335 is the call leg. So it looks pretty solid. Again, just money. That's just money. Such a good trade, ROI wise. Our trade here as well, not looking too shabby. Just $80. Finally, you know, it took a long time today for that extrinsic value to finally work its way through, but it's there now. With just $80 left to go.
Really nice, really solid 10% ROI over a 1 day period there as well. So pretty nice. Adam, at this point, the Russell is looking like it's going to hang out at this level. Yeah. I mean, it looks, of all three of the indices, it's looking kind of like, well, let me go grab my son's. Just easier just to bounce this back over here. Of all three of the indices that we're looking at, it's really kind of been the most stable, right? And so that was the idea, at least as well, as we put those trades on, was that, that was the premise behind it, that was the most stable of the indices. So looks pretty good there. I will come back in maybe 10-15 minutes before we get to the close, and we'll run through all of our positions and where we're at on them. But man, what a great day. And it's, I'm really starting to love the Tuesdays and Thursdays because they do really set us up for the next day, right? We put a lot of positions on those days, and then we can kind of harvest the fruits of our labor the next day while we're in a Zoom session. So it's been a good week. It's been a good couple of days. But I'll be back in just a little bit. Okay, so I just posted up some results there in Discord. 4K, I think it was 4K profit for the day today. Basically 9K profit for the week in roughly $100,000 account. It's tough, right? It's a little bit of a challenge. We really don't want this to be a quote unquote trade alert service where I'm just giving you trades and people just blindly go off and do them, and they work or they don't work and nobody knows why. And, it's just a horrible recipe for disaster. And so we really encourage the educational component here. We encourage chatting about trades and learning and doing on your own. And I love, Tracy, I think you mentioned it maybe earlier in the day today, and there were a couple of posts earlier in the day of people taking profits or mitigating risk or taking off one leg of a trade versus a different leg. All on their own. It wasn't following me, it was doing, and I love that, man. Like, that's awesome, right? Because you see the growth and you see the knowledge coming into your trades, and it's just awesome to see you guys develop as traders. But if your results are starting to deviate too much, like, it worries me when we have an absolutely killer week and an absolutely amazing day, and you're seeing a couple people post things like, it's a horrible day, and like, okay, well, something's going on there. So again, if you ever want to just touch base with you guys can DM me anytime, and we can walk through it and we can kind of see what's going on. But anyway, we're down to just about 20 minutes or so in the day left in the trading day. I think that we probably could have left our SPY trade alone, but it's not prudent to do it at this close of a level. And so we'll take our profit on it here. I think that, with the way that the market pushed up this week, honestly, we should be pretty happy with the fact that we're booking any profit on the SPY trade this week. So I'm pretty happy with that trade. I'm very happy with how most of our commodity trades turned out today. We were able to finally close out the Apple trade, and that worked out really nicely for us. We've got this new yen trade working now that is really pretty cool. And I think that has a lot of potential in that. And as I mentioned earlier in the day, if I can get some of these darn things closed out to free up some buying power, that's a trade that I might actually throw a little bit more in. I see your comment there, Tracy. I don't know. I think it was maybe, it was a baptism by fire, right? I think that it might have been the very first SPY trade that we ever did. And it was in the profit zone and it was on an expiration and they kicked us out, right? Tasty Works came in and closed the trade out. And you know, all of us got heated and a bunch of us called in and we got the company line that was, hey, if it's within, I think they said 2 to 5 or 3 to 5, if it's within 3 to 5 points of it, they're going to go ahead and close it down. But yet, I've had the last 2 iterations of the SPY trades that we took to fruition, that we took to all the way to expiration, were within that range. They were inside of a $5 range, and they didn't close mine down. So who knows? Who knows? But anyway, a profit is a profit, and so I think that we'll just be happy to be back at it next week, and we can start fresh again. And I think that with where the markets are at right now, I'm hopeful with the amazing premium that we've been able to get in the NDX here the last couple of days, that'll carry over into Monday's session, and we'll finally, you know, it might be 3 weeks now that it's been that we haven't really had a 4 DTEQ trade that we've just been thrilled with. So hopefully Monday will bring some potential opportunities there in not just the SPY trade, but the Q trade as well. I'll come back here, guys, just before the close, and we'll look at all of our positions, but I think that we're pretty well positioned with what we have to work with here. Got a question coming in from Donald. The weekend is a great time to review, for sure. If something turned out great or not, post it here. So yeah, for sure. One of my things I struggle with is missing the strikes that Scott posts for his trades. I'm going to review that when I miss this week to see if I can get entries of my own on the second leg of some trades that Scott doesn't. Not sure if it'll work out, but it might make me feel better. Well, no, I agree with that, Donald. I think that that's probably a good approach as well. And Jan, those NDX trades, wow, we're getting used to I know, I hate to set this precedent that we're just going to be able to do 0 DTEs all day long. But, you know, again, the old saying that, you know, you don't know who's swimming naked until the tide goes out, and you don't really know who's a good trader and who's not until things kind of go crazy in the market, right? When everything is nice and calm and easy, you got a lot of people throwing iron condors on trades, making a bunch of money, making really good ROIs. And they seem like they're geniuses because they're putting trades on that are working and are making great money. But, you know, when things turn sour, it gets ugly really fast. And so I do think that, you know, I'm really proud, again, I'm proud of our trade that is not making money, which is our Tesla trade. I'm really proud of how we've been able to very adroitly manage that trade over the last several weeks. I'm really proud of how we're able to sort of rein in our 4 DTE trades, sometimes cutting them off midweek, sometimes restarting them, taking profits at 50%, what have you. But it is interesting. I'm going to post some of these things up to our YouTube channel here this weekend. And every time I do that, you know, I get people that will say something along the lines of, wow, I was in that same trade, only I lost money. You know, I did a 0 DT that day as well, but I lost money. And so there's a lot of nuances to getting your trades correctly, and the management of the trade. I think it's a little overstatement, but there is some truth to it that you can actually make money on bad trades if you can manage them well enough, right? If you can really stay on top of them. So it's been a little bit of work this week. There's no question about that. It has been a little bit of work, but it's turned out quite nicely for us. JR, we can only trade what we see, and 2 times index per day is what we're seeing. Yeah, I mean, the opportunity was there, right? I mean, it's a fun time. I will tell you, it's a fun time when you have to double check your work. Like you have to double check the premiums. Like, am I on a 3 DTE expiration instead of a 0 DTE here? Because these premiums are way too good, but we've just had it really, really good with the NDX lately. Question on GME. For GME, do we have to close the call legs? We've already done that. We've already rolled. Oh, call legs. No. Those will expire on their own. Sorry, I misunderstood. Those will expire on their own, and then we'll come back next week and redo those. Little more efficient. Not efficient from a buying power standpoint, but a little bit more efficient from a cost-wise standpoint to just let those calls expire, and then we'll redo those next week. Patrosoft, last year I joined a few groups and everyone seemed to be making green, but the last couple of months, a lot of those groups have become quiet. Yeah, it's, when the market's just kind of trudging up, or even down, right? But when it's just in like a cycle, it's pretty easy to make money. But when things get crazy, it kind of goes the opposite direction really quick. John, I know your battle with Amazon, and that's great. If you're, and that's the key, right? That's we sort of expanded the conversation beyond position sizing to talking about optimizing your positions, the capital in your positions, and that's a really good example right there. Even with your Amazon trade not working, you're still green by $1,000 on the day. That's the key, right? That's the overall key. Again, I wish that there was a way to break everybody of this. The best way that I know to break everybody of this is to force all of you guys to go into the AST program, which, by the way, AST program, my account is once again at an all-time high. Like, it's just, that program is killing it. But anyway, we get kicked out of trades every single day in there. Every single day we are taking losses in the AST program. And yet the net lick value just keeps chugging and chugging and chugging. It just keeps killing it. And so I don't know, other than forcing you to get into the AST program, a good way to instill that with people. But I still see people in here, and we got 87 trades, maybe not 87. We got a lot, right? We got a lot of trades going on in here. And somebody will still say something like, oh, well, what about CL? What about CL? And I'm like, what about it? What about it? You will never have a day when everything is green, right? That's not even our goal. It's not even our goal to have every trade work out. The goal is to have our net lick value go up and up and up, right? I'm up $4 grand for the day. I'll finish the week up 10 grand for the week, because that's not bad on a $100,000 account. Up 10 grand for the week on a $100,000 account's not bad. Clyde, I'm letting my NDX expire. I need every dollar after my personal TSL trade. I know we've talked about your version of the Tesla trade. I just need to go to work and make better decisions. Well, and Clyde, we talked about it, right? I mean, we talked about it. Those things can happen, and again, it is always position sizing, and Tesla is a tough one. Tesla is a tough one to trade right now. Tito, you double your account in a few months. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah, well, listen, we're glad to have you here, Tito. We are very glad to have you here. Daryl, I just went live in AST this week. My account's up $800 in a week. I'll tell you when it's fun, right? And those of you that are in the program can attest to this, but the AST program is really fun when the market goes down. Well, we're down today, right? It's fun when the market goes down, because we can really build some cool protective measures in that account with the way that things are structured. And that's really when that account shines, is when the market goes down. So Ritz, except for the snap fallout, all is well for me today. Oh yeah, snap was kind of the ugly one, right, in the market today. Unfortunately, sorry that you had a piece of that. It did get taken to the woodshed, unfortunately. Adam, you close your X short call. I think that, we got 9 minutes to go here, and it looks pretty good from my perspective, but that's a good trade, right? That's a good way to close it out. Donald, yeah, that's the challenge. There are two challenges. There are two problems with the AST program. Not problems. It's just the nature of the beach. It's how it works. I said that that program does really well in bear markets, and it makes a lot of money in bear markets. Well, the reason for that is because we use shorting. We do go short in the AST program. So Donald, unfortunately, it doesn't work for retirement accounts because we do go short in it. And then the other challenge with it as well is that we are getting kicked out of trades every single day in there. Every single day we're getting kicked out of trades. And so you will hit PDT. And so you do need more than 25,000 in there. And we say, to have a buffer, really 30 grand is the minimum. So those are the two big drawbacks of AST is you need about 30 grand to start, and it doesn't work for retirement accounts, unfortunately. My current AST level, so it's a new all-time high, and it is, yeah, so I'll give you an idea. So total passive account, right? I haven't, I put my trades on this morning, don't touch it, does its own thing all day long. It's up, my account is up $810 on the day today, and that puts my balance at $45,780. Started the year with 30,000 in there, and it just clicks along, But I was talking with a couple of you inside the AST server the other day, and I just said that, again, if your money is stuck with in an IRA to where you can't short, or you don't have $30,000 to throw in there, like, I get it, right? I understand that. But if you can, boy, for those of us that are in both, it is such a nice compliment, right? To have an account that you don't need to look at, you don't need to pay attention to, put the trades on in the morning, they're done, they take care of themselves. It's been really, really nice from that standpoint. Okay, I'm just quickly taking a look here as we get to the close. The Russell trade in my son's account, it looks good. I don't think we need to do anything there. We got our Russell trade here almost fully profitable. That's nice. I mean, between the two Russell trades, there's almost 2 grand right there in a day, profit wise. But I think that we're pretty good. Yeah. So Ben, the good and the bad. The Tasty Works is awesome. Because they let you trade everything in the same account. Great from a simplicity standpoint, but it can mess you up with your futures, because your futures trades are actually in a separate account from an accounting standpoint inside Tasty Works, but it's all shown to you on just one screen. So to you, it looks like one account, but it's not. And your margin on your futures is affecting your margin in your other one. And then to make matters worse, I have 3 accounts. I have 3 Tasty Works accounts that are all connected together. I have the AST program. I have this account that we trade in together here, and then I have my son's account. And so there will be occasions, usually it's my son's account, where he will go into negative buying power. And that will spill over and that will affect my buying power in the AST account or this account, because they look at all of those together. Even though they're separate accounts, they look at them, they affect each other. So it's nice that Tastyworks lets you just kind of trade everything in one place, but you do kind of have to stay on top of your margin requirements for sure. Okay, guys, we're winding it down here. We're winding it down. So I will come back and check in just before we close out the day and the week. All right, guys, I know I'm a minute or so early, but I'm going to go ahead and call it a close for the day, call it a close for the week. Man, that was a good week, guys. That was a good week. Kenneth, 11.8% on the week, 12K deployed, or excuse me, 11.8% on the NDX. Perfect, 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 perfect. What a great day, guys. What a great week. Thank you all so much. Again, I probably don't tell you guys enough, but I am incredibly appreciative of all of you guys being a part of this program. The support that you give me does not go unnoticed. So thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys all next Monday. We'll start it all over again. So have a great week, guys. We'll talk to you soon.